Welcome to Robin's house. Today I'm working on the sunflower cards with Robin, and they of course all feature the sunflower embossing folder, which is so cool. It's a very big one, so you can do almost any size of cards that you want. And I just wanted to show you the different techniques that I used on each of these cards. So the first one is really just running a card through the embossing folder in white and slapping that directly onto a card with a nice elegant message. And you have a very nice like anniversary card just because it's simple and has a nice deep texture to it. It's very lovely. My next favorite, I love using my sanding block. So you just run it through like regular, and then you take a sanding block and you just rough up all the edges that are sticking up by bringing that white core of paper through just to emphasize some of the texture that's on there. And then that's also fun too, just emphasizing that. And then you throw a message on and some ribbon, and you've got a really fun card. Now this card features tearing, which we have done many times. So tearing, of course, you decide which side you want up and tear with your right hand up so that you can get that white line going through across the. So I embossed that first and then I tore on it. And then we had the design. We take our finger dauber and we just put it in some pecan pie after we've cut it out, and just rub it on those edges and let the ink just kind of grab what it grabs, and it will emphasize the parts that stick up. And then you add a little extra in the middle or use a different color. I used early espresso in the middle of the flower, but it's a very easy technique just to add a little bit of color to what you embossed. Now these two cards are very similar in their technique and a little different. So this one I colored with markers, and this one I colored with sponge daubers. Obviously sponge daubers are going to be much quicker, but I just want to show you the basic of it. So you take your sponge dauber with your, this is Daffodil Delight. You're just going to color in the areas. And then you can do the same thing with your green, your granny apple green, because you're going to want some of the leaves. And you can tell that I'm not being all that specific in where my color ends up. And it's okay. It doesn't matter that much because you haven't run over the card yet with the most important feature. So that is using sponge daubers. There's also, you can use the ink, the Stampin' Blends. And mine isn't, well, okay, the inked one is over here. When I colored my initial one, I was using the Stampin' Write marker. This is the Stampin' Blends. The Stampin' Blends will go a little faster. And the Stampin' Write actually has a couple more colors than the Stampin' Blends does. So, for example, Stampin' Blends doesn't have the early espresso that I wanted for the center. That wasn't the truth because I wanted brown. I wanted pecan pie. I wanted pecan pie for my centers, but that's okay. It's early espresso now. So the main point of this is, I'm going to do a separate video on this. I'm doing this really fast. Taking your 1x1 espresso ink pad and just gliding it over the top. Isn't that amazing? It outlines everything instantly, creates that black background border. I'm doing a bad job because I didn't want to get it all over my thing, but it's amazing. I love this technique. And the main thing, which I should have mentioned before, is your embossing. Normally, when we do our embossing, the embossing is up. You keep your Stampin' Up! Side up and you get your embossing up. But in this case, we are flipping it over and we're getting our embossing side down. So only the edges appear. And then we get a lot of that flat space as well. And so it just looks amazing. So that's quick and dirty. There'll be a longer video about that after. And then finally, this one is a little brighter and cheerier. And it is done by coloring with ink, your markers directly on the embossing folder. Again, you're wanting to fill the opposite side. No, this one is you're filling in the side that's up. You're coloring with markers directly on the embossing folder. And then you're going to spritz it. And then you're going to run it through the embossing machine. So it gives you, it's obviously runny, and depending on if you spritz it with water or you spritz it with a pearl paint, which I did a little bit, it's enough to reactivate the marker that you've colored and then give it a little bit of, and then, you know, fill in, and it's amazing. So I'll have a separate video about doing that as well. But this is the Sunflower Cards with Robin, and featuring that embossing folder. It's so much fun. Thank you so much for watching. Happy crafting.